I was invited to teach a class of negative painting in watercolor, so I was thinking how I could design a class that would be different from the existing ones. I normally did not only apply the negative painting technique to create the illusion of space in my paintings. Instead, I use different watercolor techniques and concepts to create a visual sense of space, including applying perspective in my composition and creating soft bokeh effect backgrounds. I spent a few days figuring out what subjects I should paint in order to apply the negative painting. Trees? Leaves? Flowers? There are so many people painting them already. After researching, I decided to paint a water lily pond from a bird's eye view. I labeled the leaves in numbers, so I know which leaf is in which layer. I normally don't do this since I can just paint as I go. However, it's for a class, so I want to document each step of my painting process. Plus, it will be helpful for my students to know what colors and values are for each leaf. For the first layer, I applied not only blues for the water area and the greens for the leaves, but also some browns to indicate the dirt areas. This way I can push the distance even further down to the bottom of the pond. I apply water to my paper section by section in order to achieve the better wet-on-wet effect. I need to apply paints to the wet areas before the paper is dry, so the paints can blend well together and avoid watermarks or strong edges among waters. After the first layer, I was happy with the result. However, I actually got stuck with the correct steps of negative painting. What is negative painting? Negative painting is a technique where you paint around the subject rather than on the subject. It's a technique that can add depth and dimension to your paintings. Yes, it makes sense. But I was thinking, how could I paint around the leaves to show the dimensions and the texture of leaves? I was confused. Have you visited the same place at different times of the day or seasons? The sky, water, the pier, and the landscape are the same, but they look different due to the times, lights, and seasons. Suddenly, I realized that it's all about how I process things. In other words, it means that there are no correct steps when it comes to painting. I don't really have to follow the exact steps that others did before. My original idea was to cooperate with negative painting techniques to help me enhance the depth of my painting, right? That's why I decided to paint it with my own steps. It might be different from what other artists did. Hopefully, finger crossed, the final painting will turn out great with the negative painting effect. After first layer, I decided to paint leaves first based on the groups that I labeled in order from lighter one to darker one. The group 1 and the water lily are the main focal group, so I apply the masking fluid to prevent them from painting the first layer. Now I'm painting the second group that is slightly darker than group 1. For group 2, I use the colors number 121 fern and the number 123 vine leaves to create the value and the texture of the leaves. Then I added the number 92 mist to number 123 vine leaf for some darkest areas, and the number 91 bear, which is dark brown, for the edges of leaves. If you don't have the same brands of paints as I do, don't worry about it. You can always refer to the color chart that I showed on the left-hand side of this video. Finally, I use flat brush number 2 to create the highlights by lifting off paints. Now let's paint group 3 that is darker than group 2. In order to push this group a little bit back behind group 2, I added more blues, including number 92 mist and the number 127 blue whale. Some parts of leaves are even underwater, so it will be the best effect to create illusion of space of this water lily's pond. After painting all leaves, including group 2, 3, and 4, now it's time to paint water areas by applying negative painting techniques. I wet the area first, then I added not only blue, but also number 100, which is earth, for some sand area, and number 91 bear darker brown for the deeper areas of the bottom of the pond. In this area, I still cooperate with soft bokeh effect techniques to create depth. This way, you can create a texture of the bottom of the pond and attract more attention from the viewers. What do you think? I add more dark blues to these areas because the leaves around it is in a deeper layer. Now applying negative painting technique here is the best way to add depth to it. Now it's time to paint the first group of leaves and the water lily. Let's remove masking fluid by using a residue eraser first. About the leaves, I use lighter green, which is number 122 called Spanish moss, as the base. Next, I use the color number 121 fern to define the form. Then I use the color number 85 sandwich for the edge. Finally, I add a darker green number 123 called vine leaf for the darker areas. For this big frond leaf, I decided to add a water puddle in the center of the leaf for some interesting details. Finally, I use the flat brush number 2 to lift off paints for the highlights. Another detail that you can add to this painting is water ripples. Adding water ripples can also create the illusion of space, especially adding the water ripples above leaves. I mainly use the color number 40 rose to create the form of each petal of water lily. Add the number 22 sunset for the darker areas. For the bottom layer of petals, I use light yellow, which is number 101, Namaste, and the number 121 fern to create layer forms. For the center of this water lily, I mixed dark brown with number 22 sunset. In order to define each petal and add the depth of this water lily, I added cast shadow on it. This way can avoid making your water lily look flat, especially from a bird's eye view. Now I have finished this painting. I'm actually happy with the final result. What do you think? Painting is just like living your life. You don't have to copy others' path to achieve your goals. However, you can learn from others' experience and find out the best way for you. Thank you so much for being here. If you like today's video and painting, please drop me a like, share it with your friends, subscribe, and turn on notifications. I will see you next time. Happy painting!
Did you see the? Yeah. Jump into water. Yeah.